Hey y'all, so I just want to open up by saying I'd consider myself a decently big fan of Doctor Who. I've seen all of the Revive series and listened to a few Big Finish. So I just want to be clear, I, perhaps differently from you, love Doctor Who. So, if you love this era, all the power to you. If you can't stand someone criticizing it, this video probably isn't for you. I say this while knowing this video will barely get any views because I know how Doctor Who fans can be. Now, on with the video. Russell, what the fuck was that? Just to paint a picture of where I was going into this era, I'd relatively recently finished binging through the 13th Doctor era, and to put it lightly, I wasn't the biggest fan. I'd caught up with the series around the release of Sea Devils, so going into the 14th Doctor, I was hopeful. Sure, I knew that RTD wasn't perfect, but his run of the revival was my favorite of the showrunners thus far. Surely he'd at least make a solid few seasons. Then the 10th specials came out, and... First of all, I know I'm not alone in having expected the Toymaker to be an overarching thing, not just one episode. But then 14 is basically just 10, but, again, with less charisma. Also, I hate him being numbered and not the blank Doctor. And each of the first 3 specials had something that fundamentally stopped me from liking them. So, our story starts here, with 15's first appearance. That's where I'm really discussing this video. Look, I don't want to go episode by episode. I might eventually, but that'd be a much longer video. So this is just going to be my general thoughts on the era. Also, for the record, I have been reading the post-episode discussions on r/Gallifrey, so it has affected my opinions, but it's still my own opinion. So I wanted to start with getting a really important topic that I don't feel I have a lot to say about out of the way. The politics of the era. Also, if you're going to argue that the politics don't matter or that it's just a silly sci-fi show and doesn't need to or shouldn't be political, the show has always been political at least since the 3rd Doctor, and almost every beloved episode of the revival has been political. U/Alan Yeezys on Reddit described the problem really well. The team is preaching to the choir. The Doctor Who audience generally agrees with what they're saying, and what they're saying is incredibly basic. Dot and Bubble's message is, Nepo babies are entitled and evil, and racism is bad. Boom's message is, capitalism profits off war. Robot Revolution is, incels are bad. And the first 2 of those are some of the better episodes of the era. Not that there aren't more nuanced episodes, Story in the Engine, Lucky Day, kind of. But some of their attempts at being more nuanced fall flat on their face. Most notably, an episode that deeply upsets me, the Interstellar Song Contest. The main message is a very simplistic, violent protest bad. However, it's also touching upon the current conflict. You know the one. And it's claiming that the people who are being beaten down right now are the ones who are doing the major violence. In other words, it doesn't understand the nuances of the conflict it's trying to speak on. So, the biggest problem with the 15th Doctor is that he isn't really especially defined. To be clear, I think he is an upgrade from 13, but not by much. The main criticism of 13 was that 13's traits were very superficially doctory traits, while the rest are counter to who the Doctor is. For more information, watch JXC's 5-hour video, or at least the section on the Doctor. 15 has a similar problem of having a lot of the more superficial doctory traits, while not a lot of deeper ones. He has his surface traits, and doesn't get much deeper the way 9 through 12 were. I enjoy Gatwa's performance, but he hasn't been given scripts that let him show off his version of the Doctor. Also, for the record, 13's best material was her cameo in Reality War. And then, the biggest thing of all. The crying registered. Many people have complained about this, but it's really a problem. The Doctor cries in pretty much every episode. The problem that all these tears create is that it makes the Doctor crying less impactful in the moments that it is warranted, which, for the record, I'd say are these episodes. As a result, none of these are as impactful as The End of Time, The Angels Take Manhattan, Heaven Sent, or The Doctor Falls. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Bi-generation. What the fuck is it? How? What? If 14 dies, does he regenerate? Is there theoretically 2 Doctors out there right now? It's implied that that's how it works based on Mrs. Flood at the end, but then 15 says he's less traumatized because of what 14 with what is happening? Okay, so that thing aside, the rest of the sci-fi concepts are pretty alright, but there's quite a substantial problem of RTD writing this sci-fi show as fantasy. What with the gods, the story in the engine, and whatever the fuck 723 Yards was. Admittedly, the second series leans away from the more fantastical elements. A lot of the other concepts are connected to why is Omega here? What does he add? Why are there two Ronnies? You just have the one that leaves. Why is Sutek on the TARDIS? Why did Sutek die that time? Why is Susan around? Why is the well creature the midnight creature? There's nothing wrong with having references to past canon and past monsters, but you need to use them properly. The only reason we have, for instance, Omega in this era is so the diehards can go, gasp, I know that character. There's no deeper understanding of the villains. Also, the regeneration is weird. I don't trust they're going to use Billy Piper as the Doctor, or at least use her well. Also, why did 15 have Force Lightning? In general, the episodic plots aren't broken, but they just aren't interesting. So many episodes felt both underdeveloped and overstuffed, and the overarching plots are just consistently confusing and disappointing. Why is Ruby's mom pointing at the Doctor? She was pointing at something else we didn't know was there. Why can't the Doctor go to May 24th? Because he's already there? What's the Ronnie gonna do with Omega? Get fucking eaten. Also, this arguably should have been in the concept a bit, but Ronnie's plan hinges on the Time Lords having been sterilized by the death particle, including the Doctor, who wasn't there? Also, the Ronnie got away by changing her DNA? This stops the thing that kills all living creatures and made it not kill her because she tweaked her genetics. Somehow. Like, having the Ronnie come back would have been so fucking easy. All you have to say is she was off-world. She's a renegade Time Lord like the Doctor. At least with the Time War, you had an excuse to have no one else survive. With this one, why would every Time Lord be back on Gallifrey? The Multitude? The Monk/Nun? Why the hell would they have gone back? I know that those two are more niche than the Ronnie, being from the first Doctor and audio only otherwise for the Monk and a Big Finish original for the Multitude, but my point is, with what happened in the Timeless Child arc, there's no reason to believe every Time Lord is dead. What I know is arguably more a problem with that series, but this one suffers by committing to it. Look, I don't want to dislike Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who. But I'd rather watch great episodes or terrible episodes before I watch a mid episode. And that's what this era is. It's below average. Not the worst fiction ever produced by this show, but not quite good.